Happy Friday, everyone, and welcome to the program. I'm Eric Ham, and we're live in the nation's capital of Washington, D.C. And over the next few minutes, we'll take you from the United States and around the world, covering all the top stories of the day. But before that, here's a look at the latest headlines. The Trump administration's Middle East envoy Steve Witkoff meets Vladimir Putin in Moscow as the Trump administration feverishly attempts to end the war in Ukraine. China hosts Iran and Russia for talks regarding Iran's nuclear program. Beijing calls for ending sanctions on Tehran that have been imposed by the United States as well as other Western allies. Israel reaches out to Somalia and Sudan to resettle Palestinians uprooted from Gaza. This after President Donald Trump backtracked on his plans to relocate 2 million Palestinians from the war-torn Strip. The European Union announces investments worth over $5 billion in South Africa. This includes funds for supporting green energy and vaccine production in Africa. And intense rain triggers floods and landslides in northern and southern Peru, resulting in multiple fatalities. Officials estimate the loss of thousands of homes due to the landslides. We began in the United States, where the Pentagon is reportedly exploring military options for taking over the Panama Canal. A Reuters report cited officials from the Trump administration who spoke about the plan to send American troops to the strategic waterway. President Trump has repeatedly threatened to take back the canal from Panama and accused China of deploying its troops to operate the canal.
Announcing tonight that we will create a new Office of Shipbuilding in the White House and offer special tax incentives to bring this industry home to America where it belongs. We used to make so many ships. We don't make them anymore very much, but we're going to make them very fast, very soon. It will have a huge impact. To further enhance our national security, my administration will be reclaiming the Panama Canal, and we've already started doing it.
Now, responding to the report of a possible U.S. military takeover of the canal, Panama's government said it would defend its sovereignty. Meanwhile, Panama's President Jose Raul Molina said President Trump was lying about reclaiming the Panama Canal. However, residents of the Central American country are worried and are urging their government to take Donald Trump's statements more seriously.
I can tell Trump that he is crazy. He cannot take the canal because the world is watching. Things are not done by force, and he has to negotiate the canal agreements. You cannot take the canal by force. If he takes it, he's going to make the world his enemy. Although we know that there is a clause that if the Panama Canal was under threat of attack from another country or power, they could intervene militarily, but not appropriate or take over the canal. So my opinion is that Trump is speaking with an inappropriate attitude.
Now, the Panama Canal runs through the narrowest part of the country and connects the Pacific and the Atlantic Oceans. The waterway is more than 100 years old and was built by the United States after a failed effort by France. However, President Jimmy Carter signed a treaty in 1979 which gave the canal to Panama in 1999. Though the United States and Panama remain treaty-bound to defend the canal against any threats, the canal is being operated by 3 Hong Kong-based firms that are now selling their stake to the American investment firm BlackRock amid pressure from the Trump administration. Still, it remains to be seen how serious the commander-in-chief is about deploying boots on the ground to reclaim the Panama Canal. And continuing with President Donald Trump, nearly 100 protesters were arrested yesterday after staging a sit-in at the Trump Tower in New York City. The demonstration called for the release of Mahmoud Khalil, a pro-Palestinian activist and Columbia University graduate who was detained by federal immigration agents over the weekend. The protest, which was organized by Jewish Voice for Peace, had demonstrators storming the lobby of the Trump Tower. Some protesters even unfurled banners from the building's golden escalator, a symbolic location tied to the commander-in-chief's 2015 campaign launch.
cannot allow Donald Trump to turn this into a dictatorship, authoritarian, fascist regime, which it currently is right now as he's governing. We got to push back, and Senate Democrats need to push back, vote no on cloture, vote no on this heist of a Republican bill, and bring them back to the table to govern for the people.
Now, according to police, at least 98 individuals were detained on charges of trespassing, obstructing government administration, and resisting arrest. And despite the large-scale action, police reported no injuries or property damage.
We're saying roughly 150 people entered Trump Plaza. We made 98 arrests. Those arrests are for trespassing, obstructing government administration, and resisting arrest by virtue of us having to carry some of the people out of the Escalade. As you saw, went in and made the arrests. There were no injuries. There were no incidents. There was no damaged property.
Now, after being detained, the protesters were then led out of the building in zip ties and placed into police vehicles and city buses. And as they were taken away, their chants for Khalil's release echoed through Fifth Avenue.
We believe that it's deeply important to stand up in these kinds of moments, to say that we will not sit idly by, we will not comply. Never again means right now, never again means for everyone. What happened to Mahmoud should never have happened, and we're not going to let it happen to anyone else.
30-year-old Mahmoud Khalil was a vocal activist during the protests at Columbia University and was arrested by ICE agents last Saturday. His attorney stated that Khalil was informed that his student visa had been revoked. However, as a green card holder, his detention has sparked controversy over the legal process surrounding his potential deportation.
It is absolutely unprecedented, the grounds that are being cited by the government for purportedly claiming to revoke his green card and putting him in removal proceedings. This is a person who is a lawful permanent resident. This is a U.S. person. And, essentially they are a form of punishment and retaliation for the exercise of free speech.
Khalil is currently being held at an immigration detention facility in Louisiana, and the Trump administration has justified his detention by alleging that he was involved in activities aligned with Hamas. However, to date, no direct evidence has publicly been presented to support these claims.
Mahmoud Khalil was an individual who was given the privilege of coming to this country to study at one of our nation's finest universities and colleges. This is an individual who organized group protests that not only disrupted college campus classes and harassed Jewish American students and made them feel unsafe on their own college campus, but also distributed pro-Hamas propaganda, flyers with the logo of Hamas.
Now, while Thursday's protest at Trump Tower was the most high-profile demonstration so far, there have been several other rallies taking place across New York City and elsewhere. With activists condemning Khalil's detention, a question remains, is this just the beginning? And now shifting focus to Elon Musk, the Tesla CEO and head of Doge has made all sorts of headlines this week. The latest is his push to incorporate artificial intelligence for running federal departments. After firing tens of thousands of federal employees, Doge now demands the remaining to explain their weekly accomplishments via email. Now, Musk is using AI to process the email responses and determine who should remain employed. Doge has also rolled out an AI chatbot for federal workers that is being reportedly used for carrying out general tasks. According to reports, employees are using the Doge chatbot for drafting emails, creating talking points, and summarizing drafts. Meanwhile, the State Department is planning to use AI to scan social media posts of visa holders residing in the U.S. to identify if they support terror groups like Hamas. However, Elon Musk's AI push in the government is facing pushback, with many calling for more scrutiny over AI's proliferation.
I think that the skills of politics are very different than the skills for technology companies to have success. So in general, I don't know. It does make sense to run a government like a business, but I don't see that happening in the case of Elon Musk. Well, everybody notices AI has certain problems, so you should at least be aware of it. Everybody says AI should be regulated, but they just throw it out as a word because they're making AI. And I've said for years now how it should be regulated. You should know if you're reading something that came directly from AI, not from a human that interpreted it and put it in their own words. It's coming from AI. You should be told which AI, how was it trained, what sources on the internet was it trained on.
Members of the Trump administration now have openly used and supported AI, with President Donald Trump himself using the technology. The commander-in-chief even sparked a controversy last month when he shared an AI-generated video of a plan where the Strip was turned into a beach resort without any Palestinians. Activists are now calling for a complete ban of AI use for politicians and are urging the government to make it mandatory to label all AI-generated content.
I believe that AI should be banned by politicians. I mean, if the politicians should do justice for AI in their own, lawmaking processes, they should first and foremost ban AI for politician or political use.
Elon Musk and Doge remain committed to pushing AI into government departments after firing thousands and getting technology to do daily tasks. However, it still poses several challenges regarding national security, with the private sector getting access to classified data and the possibility of AI being manipulated by international actors. The Trump administration has doubled down on its war on drugs, and now they're flooding America with deadly fentanyl. This battle took a major turn as 7 cartel leaders were extradited from Colombia to the United States, marking a bold step in dismantling transnational criminal networks. And at the helm of this effort is newly appointed FBI Director Kash Patel, a fierce prosecutor with a no-nonsense approach to justice. Patel has vowed to restore trust in the FBI while hunting down those who threaten American lives. Here's more in the battles being waged.
The FBI just sent a clear message to drug lords. Your time is up. 7 cartel leaders accused of flooding America with thousands of kilos of drugs have been extradited from Colombia. Their empire of crime has crumbled and they now face American justice. FBI Director Kash Patel announced the operation in a fiery statement on X. Along with our interagency partners, the FBI indicted 7 cartel leaders from Colombia. He held them responsible for funneling thousands of kilos of drugs into United States and added that the culprits will now face American justice. However, this international takedown was months in the making. Patel didn't mince words. If you harm Americans, we will find you. We will search every corner of the earth. Justice will be served. Now, Patel isn't just taking on drug lords. He's on a mission to rebuild the FBI. His confirmation as the 9th FBI director was a political battlefield. Republican Senators Lisa Murkowski and Susan Collins opposed him. But with the rest of the GOP backing him, he secured a narrow 51-49 victory.
On this brisk morning, my fellow Democratic Senate Judiciary Committee colleagues and I are here at the FBI headquarters today on the day the Senate Republicans have scheduled Kash Patel, President Trump's nominee for FBI director.
Patel, a former counterterrorism prosecutor and a Trump loyalist, has long criticized the FBI's past investigations. And now his leadership comes at a chaotic time. The Justice Department just ousted top FBI officials. There is also an unusual push to identify thousands of agents who worked on January 6 cases. Patel has his hands full, but he's not backing down.
Anyone that wishes to do harm to our way of life and our citizens here or abroad will face the full wrath of the Department of Justice and the Federal Bureau of Investigation. And if you seek to hide in any corner of this country or any corner of this planet, we will put on the world's largest manhunt and we will find you. And we will decide your end state, not you.
However, this high-profile cartel bust is part of a larger war. America is drowning in fentanyl. Since 2023, the DEA has seized a staggering amount, 25,697 kilograms of fentanyl pills, 7,272 kilograms of fentanyl powder at the southern border, 659 kilograms of fentanyl pills at the northern border, 650 kilograms of fentanyl powder at the northern border. The numbers are shocking, but they only scratch the surface of the crisis. In early 2024, Customs and Border Protection launched a series of crackdowns across California, Arizona, and the Pacific Northwest. Their target? Fentanyl, methamphetamine, and deadly new threats like xylazine. Their efforts paid off, and the Customs and Border Protection seized nearly 5,000 kilograms of drugs, including 1,172 kilograms of cocaine, 574 kilograms of fentanyl, 2,577 kilograms of methamphetamine, 61 kilograms of heroin, 301 kilograms of marijuana, and 290 kilograms of other illicit substances. Now, it's also worth noting that the culprits arrested yesterday aren't just random criminals. According to reports, they are members of violent gangs like MS-13 and Tren de Aragua. And as the cartel threat rises, Patel is clear. He has declared he's not playing games. Mission first, America always. For Patel, the battle is just beginning, and the FBI's new leadership is making it clear criminals will no longer slip through the cracks. The cartel pipeline is under attack, and this time, America is fighting back.
And today we end in the world of high fashion. Donatella Versace is stepping down as creative director of Versace after nearly 3 decades. While she's shifting into the role of chief brand ambassador, rumors are now swirling that Prada may be eyeing a takeover of Versace for a whopping $1.6 billion. Now, as Versace enters a new era, fashion watchers are wondering, will the brand's signature extravagance evolve, or is a dramatic shakeup on the horizon? Here's more from the catwalk.
After nearly 3 decades of ruling the house of Versace, with her signature platinum locks and unapologetic glamour, Donatella Versace is officially stepping down as creative director. But don't panic, she's not jetting off to a remote island to live out her days in leopard print kaftans. Instead, she's assuming a new role as Versace's chief brand ambassador, which in fashion speak means she'll be serving fierce Versace energy just without the daily stress of designing. Taking over Donatella's throne, or rather her stiletto-shaped power seat, is Dario Vitale, the former design director at Miu Miu. If you're expecting an extravagant celebrity-studded announcement featuring a fleet of models draped in gold chainmail, well, you'd be disappointed. Instead, Versace's parent company in the United States, Capri Holdings, simply dropped the news with the corporate equivalent of a shrug. Vitale officially takes charge on April 1st, and no, that's not an April Fool's joke. The internet, though, is already buzzing with conspiracy theories about whether Prada is secretly plotting to buy Versace from Capri. The rumor mill started spinning when Miuccia Prada herself coyly hinted at an interest in Versace. This happened during the Milan Fashion Week last month. Prada has reportedly offered to buy Versace for a show-stopping $1.6 billion. But for now, the deal is being kept behind the curtains. And let's be honest, hiring a Miu Miu veteran to lead Versace only adds fuel to the fire. But so far, Capri Holdings isn't spilling any details. Just a lot of strategic corporate lingo about how all this is part of a thoughtful succession plan. While her official role may have changed, Donatella isn't about to fade into the background. If anything, we're probably going to see more of her, flashing her signature peace sign on the red carpets, schmoozing with Hollywood royalty, and reminding the world that Versace is still her baby. In a statement, Donatella declared, and I quote, "I will remain Versace's most passionate supporter. Versace is in my DNA and always in my heart." Translation: she may not be in the design room every day, but she's still running the show in spirit. The declaration was for all who thought she was about to quietly bow out. When Donatella took over Versace in 1997, following the tragic murder of her brother Gianni, many doubted whether she could carry on his legacy. Spoiler alert, she did, and she did it in sky-high heels. Over the years, she delivered some of fashion's most iconic moments. She took her brother's love for bold prints, Medusa heads, and unapologetic sex appeal and pushed it even further.
Young rock and roll.
hence cementing Versace's place as the go-to brand for powerful and fearless women. But now, as Versace plots a return to its daring roots, the question is, what will the future look like under Vitale? Miu Miu, after all, is known for its quirky offbeat take on fashion and is a far cry from Versace's high-octane gold-dripping extravagance. Can Vitale balance the two worlds? Or will we see a Versace Miu Miu hybrid that no one saw coming? Whether this is the beginning of a new era for Versace or just the latest chapter in fashion's ongoing game of musical chairs, one thing is certain: Donatella's influence isn't going anywhere.
That's First Post America for this Friday. I'm Eric Ham signing off from our studios here in Washington, D.C. Have a great weekend, everyone.